wondered about those really enigmatic figures in ancient texts? Like someone who just appears, does something profound, and then vanishes. Imagine this, a king of righteousness and peace stepping onto the scene, blessing Abraham and then gone. What if he isn't just, a historical footnote? What if he's actually a key to understanding divine government itself? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into a fascinating stack of sources to try and figure out the identity, the real role of Melchizedek. He's described as without father, without mother, without pedigree. Our mission here is to use a specific theological lens, the agency model of the Godhead, to unpack who he really is and, maybe more importantly, why it matters for you. So maybe you could start us off. What exactly is this agency model? How does it change how we look at the divine realm?
Yeah, happy to. It's a really helpful framework. Think of it less like abstract theology and more like a functional divine monarchy. You have a principle that's the Father, YHWH. He's the singular ultimate source of all authority, uncreated, absolute. Then, and this is crucial, you have an agent, like the Son. And he's not just a messenger. The sources really emphasize he's a perfectly authorized shaliach.
A shaliach, so like an envoy.
Exactly, but elevated. His words, his actions, they're legally, functionally identical to the principles. Think of a plenipotentiary ambassador, but, with total divine backing.
Okay, legally identical. That's a strong claim. So how does that help us with the language in the Bible? Sometimes it says YHWH, sometimes Elohim or Theos. Does this model clarify that?
It really does. It gives us a kind of grammar for these terms.
Right.
YHWH often points specifically to that singular source, the Father. But Elohim in Hebrew or Theos in Greek, these can refer to someone holding divine authority from the principle, an agent.
Ah, I see. So it helps distinguish the ultimate source from a delegated authority holder. It avoids confusion.
Precisely. Yeah. Clarifies passages that might otherwise seem, well, a bit contradictory or hard to pin down.
All right, framework established. Let's get into the sources on Melchizedek himself, that canonical dossier. What does Genesis 14 actually show us?
Right, Genesis 14.
Yeah.
He just appears suddenly. He's presented as both king of Salem, that's peace, and priest of God Most High. Quite the combination.
King and priest. And he blesses Abraham, the patriarch, and Abraham gives him tithes. That's huge deference from Abraham.
It is. It signals Melchizedek's immense stature. And then you jump to Psalm 110. It talks about an eternal priesthood, according to the order of Melchizedek, established by a divine oath.
An eternal order based on him. Okay, so not just a one-off appearance. This has lasting significance.
Definitely. But Hebrews, the book of Hebrews really takes it to another level. This is where it gets really striking.
How so? What does Hebrews add?
It calls him King of Righteousness and King of Peace, directly translating his name and title. But then it adds this, without father, without mother, without pedigree. And listen to this, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, made like unto the Son of God.
Wow. Without beginning or end. Like the Son of God. That sounds divine, not just human.
Exactly. Now, connect that back to our agency model. That lack of earthly origin, without father, without mother, it's not just unusual. Our sources argue it's a definitive marker. It points away from him being merely a type or a symbol, towards him being a direct manifestation, a pre-incarnate appearance of the Son, the supreme agent of the Father.
A direct manifestation of the Son before the incarnation.
That's what the framework suggests. And his titles, King of Righteousness, King of Peace, they perfectly mirror the Father's nature, the upright ways of Jehovah from Hosea. The agent reflects the principle.
Okay, that's a powerful connection. So what about his priesthood then? That dual role, king and priest, which was generally forbidden later on. What does that signify?
It signifies a unique, comprehensive authority. His priestly order is eternal. It's based on that divine oath mentioned in Psalms, and Hebrews says on the power of an endless life.
Unlike the Levitical priesthood.
Right. That was temporary, tied to lineage, a law of a fleshly command, as Hebrews puts it. Melchizedek's order is superior, eternal. And that unification of king and priest shows this complete delegated authority. He holds both governmental and mediatorial power, perfectly representing the principle.
It's like the ultimate blueprint for the Son's role as the agent.
Exactly. It demonstrates the scope of the authority delegated to the supreme agent.
So, bringing this home for someone listening, why should this ancient figure and this theological model matter to you today?
Well, it's not just abstract history. Understanding Melchizedek through the agency model gives you a clearer lens and more precise grammar, really, for how divine interactions work throughout Scripture,
Right. It reinforces the Father's ultimate authority, the principle.
and shows the perfection of how divine will is carried out through a true, fully authorized agent. It reveals the structure, you could say.
So, to recap, we've used the agency model to see Melchizedek not just as some mysterious figure, but potentially as a pre-incarnate manifestation of the Son, the supreme agent perfectly reflecting the Father's authority and character, acting as both king and priest in an eternal order.
And thinking about this, about Melchizedek and this agency model,
Yeah.
it really does reshape how you might view divine authority, maybe even hierarchy itself. So here's something to mull over. If divine power operates through such a perfectly authorized, character-reflecting agent, what might that tell us about true representation, true leadership in any sphere? Does it point towards a higher, maybe an eternal pattern for how authority should function?